Greetings. This is White Raptor News Ministry. I hope everybody's having a pleasant day. Today we're going to be speaking about the cerebellum, Elohim, and a little bit about COVID as well, because I want to make connections with you about how all this comes into effect. Now, I've been studying the brain for probably about, 2.5, 3 years, parts of the brain, the functions, how they work. And I have equated that when we're talking about scriptures, when we're talking about the Ark of the Covenant, when we're talking about the Holy Grail, when we're talking about the Christ, which is a chrism, where is a fluid that is produced inside of the mind. We're talking about the two tablets of God, which is the right and left hemispheres of our brain, and the three major parts in our body, the ganglia, okay, the pineal gland, which comes from pineal. This is where Jacob wrestles with God, the angel, or a man, and requires a blessing. When we do the etymology for Jacob, you get Jake. Jake equals Jack. Jack equals a jester. And a jester equals a court clown. That's the etymology for Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Okay? When you break down Israel, and this is key to understand, you get three different gods here. You get the Isis goddess. Okay? You get Ra, which is the sun god. And then you get El, which equals the Almighty. Okay, I think when it says Almighty, that it's us that are almighty when we are unified as one people. Not divided by nations, borders, lines, states, countries, schools, education systems. All of it is built around division. Anything that is divided, that is of divinity. A divinity is not the vine. A divinity is something that is of the vine, divine, separated from the source. The source is the vine to all life. So when you start talking about Israel, now that is the Star of Israel, which was at one time the Star of Judah, and then it was called the Star of David, and now it is the Star of Israel. Israel? Question mark? If we break this down into three syllables, is Ra-El. Ra is the sun god. Then the flag of Israel here, you have two triangles, which is 6 points. You have 3 or 6 triangles within the triangle. 6 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 triangles, and then a 6-sided hexagon. Now, hex equals a spell, which is El Spell, a hex equals a spell, a curse, as in cursive writing, a curse, a spell, and a jinx. So here are your definitions for a hex in the star that's presented as the Star of Israel. Give me a second. Sure we're all good and on going here. Okay. So when we come here, make notes of all this stuff, folks, because this is the real deal. Okay. So now I looked up, when I started word etymology and started looking words up in the Bible, and typing them into the etymology dictionary, and I started reading different definitions. When I typed in cerebellum, because I was trying to make connections from the L that are the Elohim, right here, the L in the cerebellum, because the cerebellum is here, it's the lower mind, and it is at the top of the 33rd vertebrae, which is, this here is a Masonic number, and then you got ick, which is icky, and also a virus. Ick is a virus. The sun here, sonic, Masonic. Okay, so when you start breaking down the definitions, when I looked up cerebellum in the etymology dictionary, one of the definitions that it brought me to was parabellum. Now, I never knew what para meant, and this is how the whole world explodes open in knowledge, because knowledge, information is knowledge, and the more information you have, the more knowledge you have, and the more knowledge you have, the more control you have. And that's what these people are. They're controllers. That's the definition of God in the New Testament, is a controller. Okay? Hence, a magistrate. Okay, so this is where you get the word magi. Okay? And then your magi comes from magus. And magus comes from MAGA. So when Donald Trump was saying "Make America Great Again," he was speaking code in Latin, which is a magus. And a magus's definition is a witch or warlock. Okay? So now you understand why you get the word magistrate, because the magistrates are witches and they're warlocks. They're controllers that have placed us underneath of a spell, as I said, when we're using cursive writings to. So when it says, "In the beginning was the Word," in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, equals 60, equals 6. And the word said 3 times is 666. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Understand that when we're born into this plane of existence, we have a sense that's been removed from us. Things have been taken from us. We've been given new senses with what? Feel, touch, sight, hearing, and taste. Okay, but the one that was taken, the ones that were taken from us, more than likely is telepathy. Telepathy. And, telekinesis. We probably had these powers at one time, but they were removed from us when we fell into the lower realm. Okay, so you have the Elohim. Number one, I showed you earlier, Israel. You have El. El is the supreme, as I said before, is, well, not this, let me correct myself there. El is called God. It is also God's, okay, and it is the Almighty. El is the Almighty. And then you have the Elohim. Elohim do not have the same definition as the Almighty. The Elohim's definition is plural of Eloah, which is God's in the ordinary sense, but specifically used, use of a supreme creator, supreme God. So there's something that is higher than the Elohim. And the definition for what is higher than the Elohim is supreme God. Now, I really don't like using the word God because dog, God spelled backwards, is a dog. And those that were created on the sixth day of creation are considered animals. Okay, so this is where it talks about a troop of animals. What do you think they're talking about? They're talking about the military. They're talking about the armies, the troops of animals, and the flights of locusts that they're talking about in the Gentiles. That's in Jeremiah 16:19, which says, "O Lord, you're my strength, refuge, and fortress in the day of my afflictions." The Gentile are the animals. Why? Because they were, when creation takes place in the mind, in heaven, because heaven, look at the spelling here, heaven is the heaved, one letter changed here, heaved up place to the head. H-E-D. Heaven is the heaved up place. Heaven is the head. So the head is the Ark of the Covenant. This is your ark here. That's your ark, all right? And then this is where you get your tablets of God. Okay, the tablets, the left and right hemisphere that I wrote earlier, the tablets, the left and right, one is feminine, the other is masculine. Okay, left and right hemisphere of the brain, this is your covenant, this is your ark of the covenant, this is what your commandments are written on. They're not externalized. I'm going to prove to you that everything that's going on inside of the Bible is speaking about spiritual ascension within. That's what Jesus said. If I've said it one time, I've said it 1,000 times, that Jesus said, you will not see God's kingdom come with striking observability, for the kingdom of heaven is within. All right? So that means that the Ark of the Covenant that we've been taught about is within us. It's not out there. So then when I started looking up these words in the mind and stuff, cerebellum, it brought me to parabellum. I didn't know what para meant. And this is how you learn. Start breaking down these syllables and typing them into the etymology dictionary. You start getting definitions for other words. This is why the natives of this country, before the English got here, said that the white man speaks with the split tongue. This is why you have laughter in slaughter. It's why you have eat in create. You know, it's why you have part in partner, and on and on and on. It continues. So the language we speak here is a forked tongue language, and this is why the NASA emblem, NASA, has a vector of a snake's tongue that comes out of the NASA vector because they're snakes. Okay, what NASA did is they took away the book of Enoch, which speaks about spiritual ascension. You know, how we can leave our bodies spiritually while we're alive by meditation, to be able to leave our bodies and transcend to the spiritual side of the realm to get the answers that we need. And I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that the way it works is, excuse me, sorry about that. I feel that the way it works. I don't believe anything anymore. We got to remove certain words from our vocabulary, like believe and belief. You know, God, replace God with Most High, Supreme Source, Spirit. Now here's the kicker, what people don't understand, and this is big, and I prefer to show you this myself. Let me see, give me a second, let me grab my phone here, show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Are angels and demons both categorized underneath the same definition? Hold on, I don't want you to think that I changed anything. Oh, he stepped off the camera and he changed it. Angels and demons, as noted earlier, because I asked earlier, I guess, have been categorized as benevolent, malevolent, or ambivalent, or natural beings that mediate between the sacred and profound realm. Realm, you have L again in realm, even though it's E-A-L, it's pronounced rel. You have the rel, definitively hearing the word L in realm, because we are in different realms. Also, should be some more here. Let's see. Give me a better definition yesterday on my laptop. Okay, so the angels and demons are falling underneath of the same category. And this is how we've been tricked. Because when you hear the word angels, by artwork all of our lives, we've been indoctrinated that you hear the word angels, immediately you think of these seraphim images of something in a white cloth with wings, and that is not necessarily true. Yes, there probably are angels that are clothed in beautifully white clothing and have wings, but there's also demons. This is what you got to understand, is that angels, demons, spirits, okay, seraphims, devils, all fall underneath the same definition. So this got me thinking, well, if they all fall underneath the same definition, then what happened? Because God creates all the angels and the demons in heaven in spiritual form, and the material world, the earth, hasn't been created yet, then what was created in heaven was both good and evil. It was already created in spiritual form. Okay, so what separates what is good from what is evil? It's simple. One has the spirit, the other doesn't. It has love in its heart. It feels, it's compassionate, it's an empath. It feels for other people's pain. It understands and it cares. It has an affinity for the creation. All creation, it says that both good and evil are to his liking. Now you got to understand though, the evil, as it says, and I believe it's 2 Timothy 2:15 or 2:5, it tells us that these are natural brute beasts that were made to be taken and destroyed. So something was created and it's going to be destroyed. It's made to be taken and destroyed. Now, does that mean that it's going to be destroyed in the sense that it's going to be completely removed? It's going to be, God thought it into existence, now God is going to think it out of existence? Or is there a place of suffering, eternal hell, and burning, and tearing one's soul up for eternity, where you're hooked on people are beating you and burning you and everything, like much like what's going on in this plane of existence already when they create women in the porn industry? You think that the porn industry is that these women are just wake up one day and choose that they want to be porn star? No, they're raped over and over and over. They're kidnapped from people's homes. They're given up. They're left on fire departments, on police departments, on people's doorsteps. And then social services comes in, and from social services, these entities, these dark entities, because that's what they are. They're dark entities inside of a flesh suit. They turn them into sex slaves. It's that simple. That's how pornography is made. Okay? A child didn't wake up one day and turn 18 and decide that she wanted to get mauled by fucking 15 different men in a day each day. She was turned into that. She was beaten. She was turned out. She had men climbing on her, and this has been going on from the very beginning, because the world, as it says in Job 9:4, okay, 9:4, says the earth, okay, has been turned over to the wicked. Again, you have ick and wicked, because ick is icky. It's a virus. It's a virus. These entities are a virus. But wait, can a computer have a virus? Huh? Because a computer equals 666 in English gematria. So now when I type in para, this is when the world starts opening up to me. Para's definition means to change or alter. Okay, so the scriptures, the parables, have been changed and altered. Why? Because the Bible was once written from humans, which equal spiritual beings. Okay? They're not flesh suits. They look like they're flesh suits, but they're not. So this God of Israel today, the God of Israel, Yahweh, Jehovah, Yah, okay? You have God of Israel, Yahweh. Yahweh equals God of Israel. Israel equals Isis, the goddess, Ra, the sun god, and El, the Almighty. Three different gods there. Yahweh, that's a trinity. God of Israel is a trinity. Why? Why do they have a flag, an Israel flag, an American flag, and the Iran flag all photoshopped with one another? Because Iran is a Islamic state. Again, ick. Doesn't mean that U.S. is any better, and I'm going to prove it to you that they're all they're all in it together. So the Iran flag would be or a Persian. Okay? Persian, that's more than likely who it was then. Islam. And then you have Judaism. And then you have Christianity. And then you have all the different sects that have broken off. But this is what's important, is that these three here are tied in with one another. Each other. Okay? It's a group of religion. Okay? Li is Old Germanic. Germanic. Oh, imagine that. There you go with ick again. Because I'm going to point out to you that ick isn't icky. It's a virus. Okay? Etymology for icky is ick is icky. A virus. So you have Li, Old Germanic, which is a song which was called Luet. And then another pronunciation was Liet. So you have lie in religion, Li, and this is why you also have politics. Again, the ick, the virus, is the politics. It's the politicians. It's the those that write policies, policing us at the polls. The politicians. The republic, ick, the republic, and let's not forget the politicians also has Li in politicians. Now, when we go a little bit deeper into the word religion, you have religion. Okay, this could be, maybe I'm reaching, maybe I'm not, I don't know. But you have GI. GI in religion, a GI is a soldier. Okay? And a soldier is completely spelt off. Why do you have the letters D-I-E in soldier? Because when a soul, in S-O-U-L, this soul here represents the sun again, which is who? Ra. So this deity God, these entities, because they exist, they're real, they're among us, they're here, you can't see them, but they move among us, they latch onto our mind, okay? Because this is where you're going to get to the COVID. Religion, also you have an ion in religion, and an ion is an electrical field trick, electric trick. Why? Because Tesla told us, when you're thinking of God, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibrations. Good vibrations. The higher mind is all about good vibrations. The lower mind is about ego, it's about control, it's about power, it's about money, it's about gold, it's about rubies and diamonds and things that are worthless. This is what Jesus was trying to say, that the things that everybody's doing are worthless. And I can tell you the very first mark of the beast, the very first mark, I know that. You know what it is? I'm going to tell you what it is. The very first mark of the beast was the market. The minute we started selling on this plane of existence, that was the beginning of your bartering system, the beginning of, and what else? What did they sell at market? Bread, right? And when you go to the etymology dictionary and you punch in bread, what do you get? You get money. So bread was the first market thing that they started selling. Money. Woo! I get chills when I figure this stuff out. I see it. This stuff is incredibly strong, and it's like it can't be denied. All you got to do is confirm what I'm sharing with you, because this is all stuff I've been studying for years now, so nobody's going to change my mind. So then this is where you get religion, the lie, with the GI, which are religious soldiers. And when it says that government and religion are separate from one another, they're separate, that's a lie. Religion and government are united with one another. Government was only created from religion as to pretend like the religious leaders didn't have anything to do with government. But they're one of the same, they're just two different secular entities. Government means to control the mind. Govern means to control. Ment comes from mente in Latin, which is the mind. M-E-N-T-E, mente in Latin means mind. Ment in government means control the mind. How are they doing it? They're doing it with 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage over us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. It says devices. This device here, the one I'm recording on here, my laptop, CERN, and the television. The television is telling you their vision. Okay? The television is programming you. This is why it's called programming. The television is casting spells over you with wordcraft and magic. That's why it's called casting. And it's also channeling. This is why it's called channeling. You start figuring this stuff out, slaps you in the face, man. Okay? So Cerebellum means altered, an altered state. So the very word parables means that the parables have been altered. They have been changed. So when you look at that, now we come over here to COVID, because the slave masters, they invert and spell things backwards. There's words and sentences, hidden definitions and language that's going on within our own words. We see letters as sounds when what they really are is symbols and emojis. And when you string these emojis together, we're speaking to the gods that wrote the language of the word. And the word, my friends, spoken out loud, this like this is the devil's language. We are speaking the devil's language. So COVID, spelled backwards, is devok. And in Hebrew, a devok means a dibuk. Okay, and a dibuk is an evil spirit. See, this is where I realized, hold on, an evil spirit, so then spirits are evil too. God made evil spirits and he made good spirits. He made evil spirits with egos. No spirit on them of love of any kind. They completely lack compassion and tenderness and empathy and any of that. They don't know what it is. All right? They only have basic fight and flight survival instinct. That's what the evil spirits are. And they latch onto an animal, which is a dog, human, or mankind. Hold on, mankind. What's the difference here between mankind and human? Because when you hear animals here, now you're talking about lions, tigers, and bears. So if these are the lions and tigers and bears, then what is mankind? Mankind is 666. Mankind adds up to 66 in the English gematria, or excuse me, in simple gematria. And mankind is what's created on the sixth day in its own image. So this is what happens with Devok. Okay, now they called COVID-19. The number 19 in tarot cards, and I don't study tarot cards, I just know what they are. I don't play with them, I don't flip them, I don't do any of that. I just know what they are. So 19 represents the sun, which could be sun worship. Okay? When you break the 19 down to 2 digits, what do you get? You get a 1. And 1 in Terra means the magician. Wow. Number 1 is the magician, which has magic, which has magi, which has magistrates. So the magistrates are magic people. They're sorcerers pulling the wool over our eyes and playing tricks. How? With the devices. Anything you see on these devices could all be false. All of it staged, everything. How would you know? Are you over there in that province of Israel right now watching what's going on? Are you seeing bombs drop on people's homes? Are you seeing people run through the streets with their cameras and showing you blood and limbs and bodies and everything blown up? No, not a single one. Not one single body in all of this bombing do you see. And the ones that they do show you are probably all staged. Bunch of actors. Just like in Hollywood. They've taken Hollywood to the streets. Are people dying over there? Well, did people die in World War II? I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Just a big movie as far as I know. They showed us movies, and that's how they indoctrinate us. They're literally using that television as a weapon of mass destruction. The number 1 represents musician, and the number 9 represents the hermit. Well, who's the hermit? It's us, the population. Okay? These people, they hate us. Okay? Why? Because they're in a capitalistic system. A capitalistic system. A broken, icky virus system. And all of it resides in here, the parabellum, or the cerebellum, which is the lower mind, where it has been altered. The lower mind has been altered. It's been altered by the fallen angels. Okay? And they trick you with the word angels. Fallen angels are demons. They're not angels. Angels are moving around us down here, but we don't see them. But when they talk about fallen angels, okay, the very word angel is anglos. It's 32 in the Strong's Concordance. Okay, and it means Nephel. Again, you got El to the Elohim, to the Elohai, to the Elashika, to the Elohim, to the Elyon, to the El Shaddai, to the angels, to Michael, Raphael, Jeriel, San Raphael, Aziel, all the angels, E-L, here's his place, E-I-E-I-O, E-I-E-I-O, I-O, I'm off to work I go, because the vowels, I-O-U, are additions to all alphabets, okay, and these are where your gods were added to the book. You see, when they took that Bible, the parables, and Jesus said to his disciples, or should I say, when Yeshua said to the Israelite disciples, to the prophets, don't go into the cities or towns of the Samaritans, because if you do, they're going to trample that thing under feet. As the parable says, do not give what is holy to the pigs. Do not cast your parables right there within the word, parables to the swine, because if you do, they are going to alter and change the parables. That's what they've done. They've altered and they've changed the parables. So when you get fallen angels, Nephil, the angels, definition is figuratively a priest. Now get this. This number here adds up to 78. 7 plus 8 is 15. And 1 plus 5 equals 6. Been studying this stuff so long. I am so blessed to understand what is happening. So now you understand that the Elohim have everything to do with the altered state of the cerebellum, which has caused a parabellum. And the very word bellum itself, etymology, means at war. With what? Our spirit, our higher self. when we're getting ready to do something we're not supposed to be doing, our higher self is telling us, our higher self inside the mind is saying, hey, you know you ain't supposed to be going over that woman's house. You're married over here, man. You got a wife at home you're supposed to be going to. That's the voice inside your head. That's the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? A rock ain't talking to you, baby, outside. Those 10 commandments they told you that was handed over to Moses, the law was handed to Moses on those tablets and stuff, that is all outwardly fantasy. Everything that's taking place is taking place within the mind. So, now, what did they push on us? They pushed a vaccination, right? When I was a child in year 62, around 70, 10 years of age, autism was 1 out of every 5,000 people. And that probably started happening because of alcohol. But as mankind started creating more drugs, creating more poisons, causing more sickness, and polluting your mind, okay? When you're doing drugs and you have babies, folks, you're birthing a devil child into the realm, okay? If a child is born on crystal methamphetamine, the mind is already destroyed and it's already coming out of the womb, born in the lower mind, and the lower mind is death. And when you're born into death, you can't see, think, or understand anything. I don't know why that it was blessed to me. So vaccination in English gematria is 666. Go to a gematria calculator, type in vaccination, English gematria is 666. And what was this vaccination? It was forced on you. It was a forced vaccination. Take the vaccination or you can't fly, you can't get on government planes, you can't get on aircraft, you can't get on buses, you can't use any kind of taxi cab, you can't use anything. This is the mark of the beast. Take the mark or you can't use our stuff. So this is why I keep telling people that you need to be able to be self-sufficient. You need to learn how to grow your own food. You need to buy a freaking property for a couple $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. Grow your own food. Buy a freaking broken down trailer stop trying to compete with the world like the big home is all that matters, because none of it matters. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is the truth. Money is breaking the souls because people are chasing after money after chasing after knowledge. Knowledge is better than money because when you have the knowledge, you can make all the money you want. But what's really the paradox of having the knowledge, like I have the knowledge, once you have this kind of knowledge, money no longer matters to you. The only thing that matters to you is your brain becomes this sponge wanting to know more knowledge, wants to learn more information, because the more information you have, the more power you are in, and the more power you have, the more easily it is to control the people. You see, these people that are ruling the world have the same knowledge that I'm sharing with you right now today. They know what I'm sharing with you. They wrote the fucking language, for Christ's sakes. You think they don't know? Of course they know. They've pit. The atheist against the Christian argument debate is a horse show. It's a shit show. It's false. Both sides. All of them. Both sides. Christianity is wrong. What should I go to? Okay, so look. When you look at the word image in the Bible, its definition is to shade. We have been shaded in a flesh suit. You go outside, you stand in front of the sun, you got a shadow. Okay? Though I walk through the shadow of death, this is the shadow right here. You're casting the shadow of death. I shall fear no evil, for thy staff comforts me. Now, I really don't like this part of the parable too much, because the staff can also be thought of as a penis. And in this plane of existence, they are penis worshipers. They are straight up worship the dick. Okay? And this is why people are so in sin. I mean, I must have heard my mother more than a dozen times throughout the course of my life say that men can't think through anything other than their dicks. That was what my mother used to say all the time. You know, they have no thought. Well, guess what, folks? I'm sorry to break it to you, but the dick is a head. It's a lower head. Okay? We weren't sent down here to fornicate and screw everything that you possibly can. Okay? That wasn't the deal. The flesh suit was given for us to learn good and evil. But somehow that lower entity placed some scales over your eyes and has this entire nation and other nations alike where everybody is committing adultery. Our nation is a nation of adulterers. Okay? You're a nation of liars. When you vote for a government official, then you take on the demon that possesses that government official, because you have given your power, the very power you have over the government, to the government. And nobody knows that. This is why I post all the time. Stop voting. Stop voting. You are voting for entities. You are not voting for a human being. You're not voting for something spiritual that has love in its heart. You're voting for something spiritual that is dark. It's a dark entity. A demonstrative sense of entity. A demonstrative means something of love, but you have the very word demon in demonstrative. So, in images to shade, a phantom. Okay, a phantom's definition is a ghost. A ghost is a host, but it is the spirit of the dead. Okay? That is a cross, and the cross represents death. Jesus died on the cross. He didn't live on the cross. The cross equals the cross road, because nobody's walking the straight and narrow path. Everybody's going this way and that way and this way and that way, and everybody's going, hey man, any way we want to go. Everybody's walking off the bridge by the thousands, by the millions, by the billions, walking off this bridge of death, because that's what the cross represents. It doesn't represent life. Jesus died on the cross. The parables saying that you know, and you're not to look for the kingdom of heaven out there. There he is. Don't go there. You know, when they say there he is, over there is the Christ, you don't go there, man. Why? Because the Christ equals the chrism equals the Christos. Christos equals 666. And what is the Christ? The Christ is an anointing, is what we taught. Okay, anointing from the Son. But what it really is, the Christ is an oil. It's produced in the brain. I've told you this before. It's dimethylene treptamine. Dimethylene treptamine, to trap the mind. The oil. This oil is the secret. Okay, it's a secret. They don't want you to know this. And this is where the word secret comes from. It comes from secrete. Because the oil that is secreted into the mind through the corpus callosum, that drops like a little dripper, like in a hospital little dripper. They had that little dripper. Okay, but only maybe it's much, much, much smaller. It drops, and then the pineal gland and the pituitary gland fire off neurons. And then when they hit that oil, bam! That's what gives us our hallucination, because the image is to shade a phantom. It's an illusion. We are living an illusion, and an illusion equals 666. It was created by mankind, created by the Israelites. Okay? Again, I'll show you, keep doing this because if people come in at different times, you know, I want them to see the truth. The 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a 6-sided hexagon that's placed us underneath of a hex. The definition for a hex is a spell. A spell is made from words. Words. Spell is made from words. Words craft. Words crafted have us speaking a split tongue language where we're saying one thing. We're taught that sincere. Look at Sarah right here. Sarah. 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 Sincera. The cerebellum. Sincere. We're taught sincere means earnest. Okay? It's upright. Up. Right. Righteous. But it has sin. And the word sear here could be to scorch or to burn. Sincere. So the Christos comes from this, which is a secret. Secret comes from the word secrete, because the mind is secreting a life-giving oil, which is the Christ fluid that is produced in the corpus callosum. This is beautiful stuff. Corpus means dead. Okay? The callosum is the brain, which is a chamber. Okay? It's a hollow chamber inside of our mind that they call the tomb. Oh, man. So the chamber produces a fluid which gives us life, but at the same time it gives us life, it's telling us that we're from the womb to the tomb. And the corpus callosum creates the fluid inside of the brain that's called the dimethyltryptamine. The dimethyltryptamine is something that's trapping the mind, and it secretes, and this is where the word secret comes from, from secrete, because the oil is a secret that they are not teaching you. That's why it's secret. But you're getting it from me. This information here is the information you raise your children on. You want to break away from the system and find something more spiritual? Start teaching your children this kind of information here, right from the get, instead of Santa Claus. Okay, instead of Thanksgiving and a turkey and a fairy and tooth fairies and all the shit that they shove down our throats and distract you with, because everything I'm showing you to deal with has to deal with the eternal mind. It's going on in here. You think I'm looking at you, you think you're looking at me like this through the camera and everything. You're looking at the world and the trees and the plants and the cars and everything go by. No, it's not you viewing the world out there. It's all from inside the mind, being projected out like a projector. The world we see is a projection. You're not viewing it the way you think you're viewing it. You're viewing it from the inside out, not outwardly inside. And that's the way it works. So it's an illusion. Illusion is 666. Okay? To shade a phantom, it's an illusion. It's a replica. The definition of an image is a replica. Again, It's a replica or figuratively, an idol. So that God on the sixth day, Elohim, who controls the cerebellum, created himself in an image of God, means to shade a phantom. That is a ghost. Jesus Christ died on the cross and gave up the ghost. I can't break this stuff down any simpler. I'm telling you that a 5 or 6 year old could get this information and would receive it much better than an adult that has already been gone through its life and been lied to about Jesus Christ all its life, lied to about Buddha, lied to about Yahweh, lied to you about Jehovah, lied to you about Krishna and every other religion on the earth. If it is a religion, then it is a lie. And that is why lie is in religion. It is why lie is in politics. It is why ick is in everything I've told you. The politics, the mind is icky. Our mind is destroyed. And the only way to cure the mind is to get into the truth. And then once you get into the truth, what you've lost, it all comes back. And then the shit that you've watched that means nothing in your life and has no value at all is all washed to the bottom and it's flushed out your rear end like a freaking turd. And then you're left with only what matters in life. And that's the truth. That's what I've given you here in this lesson. I hope it helps you. All praise and glory to your higher self, to the higher mind, to your higher conscience, okay? And win the fight against the beast that is inside of you. Because that's why everybody around on this plane of system, this world is going, I'm in beast mode. It's time to wake up, folks. Wish you the best. This is White Raptor News Ministries. Peace.